Hi Mia, thank you for joining. Hi Elia, thank you for joining. Shout out to Mia. Thank you Mia, I'm glad you like my videos. Thank you so much for your support. Shout out to Zara. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to, write your name in the chat if you want me to shout you out. Shout out to Elia. Shout out to Alyssa. Thank you Zara for watching my videos. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Shout out to Alyssa. Shout out to Ferranula. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Ferranula. Welcome everyone. Thank you for being here. Shout out to Mary. Hi Mary. It's okay Alyssa. Thank you for stopping by. I truly appreciate it. Shout out to these people. Thank you so much for being here. Write your name in the chat if you want me to shout you out. Hi everyone. Hello, welcome. Write your name in the chat if you want me to shout you out. Shout out to Taylin. Thank you for subscribing. Write your name in the chat if you want me to shout you out. Shout out to Avina. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Sophia. Shout out to Austerity. Thank you so much for subscribing. Shout out to Austerity. Shout out to Iselda. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Iselda. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Renee. Thank you for subscribing. Write your name in the chat if you want me to shout you out. Shout out to Camila. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Gael. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Corallo. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to, write your name in the chat if you want me to shout you out. Is it Iandra? Can you write your name? Sorry. Iandre Edits? Can you write what name you want me to put? Write your name again if I haven't gotten to you. Shout out to Aurora. Shout out to Kyle. Is it Kyle? Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to is it Once Again? I'm so sorry. The chat is going by really fast. Shout out to Lexi. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Xavier. Shout out to Oasis. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Kate. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Addie. Shout out to Spooky. Shout out to Marina. I got you once again. Is it Ian Dre Edits? I'm so sorry. Let me know what name you want me to put. Shout out to Lily. Shout out to Faith. Shout out to The Myrna. Shout out to Bob. Shout out to Charlene. Shout out to Amelia. Shout out to Eandre. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Jessica. Shout out to Sabine. Shout out to Liam. Thank you for subscribing. How do you subscribe? I think there should be a subscribe button nearby, or if you click on my channel, I think it should have the subscribe button there. Shout out to Ramsey. Shout out to Carla. I'm so sorry, I'm writing very slow. Please forgive me. Thank you for your patience. Shout out to Luna. Shout out to, is it Kylie? I'm so sorry if I messed up your name. Shout out to Bean. Shout out to Scarlett. Shout out to Serena. Shout out to Kamoya. Shout out to America. Shout out to Tiana. Shout out to Francis. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for your patience. Shout out to London. Shout out to Alita. Shout out to Pranil. Shout out to Colson. Shout out to Presley. Shout out to Kate. Shout out to Kinsley. Shout out to Aiden. Shout out to Winston. Shout out to Gwen. Shout out to Nola. I know some of you get impatient, but I wish I could write really fast. I know I write slow. Shout out to Cassidy. Shout out to Honisia. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. So thank you for your patience. I know I'm not the fastest writer. Shout out to Layla. Shout out to Emily. Shout out to Logan. Shout out to Zariah. Oh my goodness, I messed up. Shout out to Zariah. Shout out to Adam. Shout out to Arlette. Shout out to Harper. Shout out to Manu. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Evangeline. Arlette, I got you. Shout out to Ramirez. Oops, why did I put an M? Ramirez. Shout out to Taylin. Good luck with your basketball game. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Monica. Shout out to, thank you Evangeline, I got you. Thank you for your support. Shout out to Eden. Shout out to Demi. Shout out to Maddie. Shout out to Oriana. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Thank you so much for your patience. Demi, I got you. Shout out to Harley. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Zara. Shout out to Lircy. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Vivian. Shout out to Olive. Shout out to Nidhi. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Ashley. Shout out to Jessa. Shout out to Maloney. I'm gonna write your name here because that way I have space. Shout out to Jose. Shout out to Avnor. Shout out to Ashley, I got you. Shout out to Umaira. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Lila. Shout out to Kaylee. Shout out to Allison. Shout out to Lauren. Shout out to Kisa. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Mai. Shout out to shout out to Brianna here because it doesn't fit on the other side. Shout out to Jake. Shout out to Andy. Shout out to Sharvie. Shout out to Finley. Shout out to Joel. Shout out to Alfred. Shout out to these people. Please like and subscribe if you enjoy my shout outs. Okay, on to the next page. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your patience. Shout out to Thomas. Shout out to Natalie. Shout out to Sufi. Shout out to Lacey. Shout out to Jaden. Shout out to Halima. Shout out to Ryan. Shout out to Skylar. Shout out to Harrison. Shout out to Caleb. Shout out to Naomi. Shout out to, bye Allison, thank you for stopping by. Shout out to Humaira. I'm gonna try this feature on YouTube. Oh, it didn't let me, never mind. Okay, shout out to JJ. Shout out to Princess. Shout out to Cave. Shout out to Prab. Shout out to Vian. Shout out to April. Shout out to Angel. Shout out to Jimena. Shout out to Prince. Shout out to Rocio. Thank you for showing me how to pronounce your name. Shout out to Dayla. Shout out to Bryn. Shout out to Rizwan. Like and subscribe if you enjoy the live stream. Thank you so much for being here. Shout out to Charlotte. Shout out to Nivitha. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Naya. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Finn. Shout out to Tayloy. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Lily. Shout out to Serenity. Shout out to Jaylene. Shout out to Marissa. Shout out to Ravienne. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to... Thank you, Velma. Tell me which name to write. Thank you for subscribing. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to... Is it Zykia? Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Zaylee. Shout out to Daniela. Shout out to Day. Shout out to Georgia. Shout out to Ellie. Shout out to Jocelyn. Shout out to Brisa. Shout out to Bella. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Thank you for being here. Shout out to Yunche. Let's try to get to 100 likes. Shout out to Victoria. Shout out to Emily. Shout out to Ava. Shout out to Alex. Shout out to Aisha. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Anna. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Jocelyn. Shout out to Seung Min. Shout out to Millie. Shout out to Dennis. Shout out to Carmen. Shout out to Quinn. Shout out to Priya. Shout out to Alec. Shout out to Diksha. Shout out to Audrey. Hello everyone, welcome. Thank you for being here. Shout out to Yaelis. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Like and subscribe if you're enjoying the shout outs. Thank you so much for being here. Shout out to Kendall. Shout out to Aileen or Ellen. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Eve. Shout out to Yoon Jin. Shout out to Sophia. Shout out to Leo. Shout out to Hee Soon. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Briella. Shout out to Laura. I got you, Hee Soon. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Autumn. Shout out to Neil. Shout out to Athena. Shout out to Briley. Thank you so much for being here. Shout out to Lily. Shout out to Molly. Shout out to Lance. Shout out to Valdez. Shout out to Fariha. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Callie. Shout out to Elena. Shout out to Sarah. Shout out to Alyssa. Shout out to Lily's BF. Shout out to Ethan. Shout out to... Thank you, Eliana. Shout out to Eliana. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Thank you so much for being here. Shout out to Ken Lee. Shout out to Aries. Shout out to Rain. Shout out to Chris. Shout out to Stella. Shout out to Everly. Or Everly. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Jasmine. Shout out to Brady. Shout out to Kingsley. Shout out to Kiana. Shout out to Jenny. Shout out to Maybelline. Shout out to Kiana. Shout out to these people. Thank you so much for being here. Please like and subscribe if you're enjoying the shout outs. On to the next page. I also post other content. I hope you can check it out as well. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your patience. Write your name in the chat if I haven't gotten to you. Shout out to Layla. Shout out to Anthony. Shout out to Elizabeth. Shout out to Joshua. Shout out to Dennis. Shout out to Freya. Shout out to Peyton. Shout out to Leanna. Shout out to Sebas. Shout out to Ainsley. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Abby. Shout out to Emily. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Priya. Shout out to River. River or Rivers? I didn't get to see. Shout out to Geneva. Shout out to Cherise. Shout out to Shay. Rivers, thank you for helping me write your name. Shout out to Zamaria. Shout out to Arset. Shout out to Danny. Shout out to Stella. Shout out to Erin. Shout out to May. Shout out to Burgundy. Shout out to Connor. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Like and subscribe. I also post other content. I hope you can check it out and support my channel. Thank you so much for being here. Shout out to Macy, sorry. Shout out to Aisha. Shout out to James. Shout out to Faith. Shout out to Tessa. Shout out to Dilnura. Shout out to Avery. Shout out to Skylar. Shout out to Sahili. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Damien. Shout out to Jungkook. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Northland. Shout out to Jimmy. Shout out to Lara. Shout out to Taylor. Shout out to Sari. Shout out to Miriam. Shout out to Daniel. Shout out to Charlie. Shout out to Cohen. Shout out to Miguel. Shout out to Esther. Shout out to Ariana. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Felix. Shout out to Emma. Shout out to Leo. Shout out to Miles. Shout out to John. Shout out to Artful. Shout out to Danny. Shout out to Jolene. Shout out to Phelan. Shout out to Kaden. Shout out to Mila. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Kenzie. Shout out to Jude. Thank you for being here. Shout out to Shuvitha. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Brittany. Thank you. Shout out to Grayson. Shout out to Max. Shout out to Alexa. Shout out to Yadleen. Shout out to Adele. Shout out to Azipa. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to John. Shout out to Chloe. Shout out to Hanley. Shout out to Melina. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Jeremy. Shout out to Brady. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Thank you so much for being here. Shout out to Bryce. Shout out to Poppy. Shout out to Ava. Shout out to Fernanda. Shout out to Beckett. Beckett with 2 T's, Beckett. There we go. Shout out to Joanna. Shout out to Kenzie. Thank you so much for being here. Write your name in the chat if you want me to shout you out. Shout out to Johanna. I don't think I spelled that right. Can you write it again? I'm so sorry. Shout out to Nikki. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Riley. Shout out to Ayla. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Thank you for your patience. Shout out to Talea. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to, let me see, Johanna. Oh, there we go, 2 N's. I'm so sorry I miswrote your name. Misspelled your name, I mean. Shout out to Johanna. There we go. Thank you so much. Shout out to Amina. Shout out to, is it Valerie? Shout out to Valerie. Shout out to Zali. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Holly. Shout out to Serene. Shout out to Addie. I got you, Addie. Shout out to Anna Laura. Shout out to Cherry. Shout out to Lollipop. Shout out to Olivia. Shout out to Vivian. Shout out to Tanya. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to these people. Thank you so much for being here. Like and subscribe if you enjoy my live stream. I also post other content. I hope you can check it out as well. On to the next page. Thank you for your patience. I know I don't write as fast as I wish I could. So please write your name if I haven't written it down. I'm so sorry. I try to write fast. Okay, here we go. Shout out to Jade. Shout out to Freya. Shout out to Brianna. Shout out to Jordan. Shout out to Devin. Shout out to Imina. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Joey. Shout out to Felix. Shout out to Crystal. Shout out to Maya. Shout out to Davian. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Connor. Shout out to Gavin. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Thank you so much for being here. Shout out to Mirel. Shout out to Emma. Shout out to Lydia. Shout out to Cora. Shout out to Laurie. Shout out to Nina. Shout out to Millie. Shout out to, is it Deborah? Shout out to Maria. Shout out to Easton. Shout out to Lily. Shout out to Trini. Shout out to Zane. Shout out to Maya. Shout out to Grace. Shout out to Cam. Shout out to, oh my goodness, is it Aaron? Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Melanie. Shout out to Jess. Shout out to Monique. Shout out to Charlie. Shout out to Hudson. Shout out to, is it Velma? Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Iris. Shout out to Zion. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Soliana. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Callie. Shout out to Tylaya. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Stella. Shout out to Delaney. Shout out to Avason. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Samantha. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your patience. Shout out to Noah. Shout out to Ivy. Shout out to Kyrie. Shout out to Maya. Shout out to Sydney. Shout out to Scarlett. Shout out to James. Shout out to Life. Shout out to Virginia. Shout out to Eden. Shout out to Faith. Shout out to Kari. Shout out to Isel. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Jenna. Shout out to Kimberly. Shout out to Emily. Shout out to Brooklyn. Shout out to Cassandra. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Thank you so much for being here. Shout out to Zoe. Shout out to Molly. Shout out to Dylan. Shout out to Tiana. Shout out to Jaden. Shout out to Matthias. Or Matthias. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Thorn. Shout out to Cadence. Shout out to Brock. Shout out to Aranza. Shout out to Connor. Shout out to Hayden. Shout out to Rain. Shout out to Layla. Shout out to Bree. Shout out to Lyric. Shout out to Day. Shout out to Ellie. Or Eli. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Chelsea. Shout out to Leia. Shout out to Abby. Shout out to Kayla. Shout out to Amira. Shout out to Gabby. Shout out to Esme. Shout out to Aurelie. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Aisa. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Lamar. Shout out to Ella. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Mateo. Shout out to Sebas. Shout out to Kimber. Shout out to Shout out to Stormy. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Rose. Shout out to Sophia. Shout out to Amelia. Shout out to Lila. Shout out to these people. Please like and subscribe if you enjoy my shout outs. I also post other content. I hope you can check it out and support as well. Thank you so much for being here. On to the next page. Please write your name in the chat if I haven't shouted you out. Shout out to Lala. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Ariel. Shout out to Victoria. Shout out to Lacey. Shout out to Pancakes. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Alex. Shout out to Addison. Shout out to Jacob. Shout out to, is it Donna? Thank you for subscribing. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Charlie. Shout out to Brooke. Shout out to Thomas. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Natalia. Shout out to Kent. Shout out to Layla. Shout out to Matthew. Shout out to Robbie. Shout out to Ashley. Shout out to Sophia. Shout out to Madison. Shout out to Julie. Shout out to Trinity. Shout out to Jerry. Give me 30 seconds, I'll be right back. Thank you for your patience. Shout out to Coco. Good night, Allison. Shout out to Alejandra. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Nubia. Shout out to Paulina. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Jerry. Shout out to Chamomile. Shout out to Malachi. Thank you for your patience. Shout out to Bella. Shout out to Paulina. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Sunzi. Shout out to Camila. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Lakeland. Shout out to Michael. Shout out to Kate. Shout out to Danya. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Adria. Shout out to Elijah. Shout out to Kimura. Shout out to Mia. Shout out to Virginia. Whoopsie. There we go. Shout out to Hanley. Shout out to Mai. Shout out to Adriana. Shout out to Leo. Shout out to Max. Please write your name again. I'm so sorry. The live stream goes really fast. Shout out to Dell. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Moses. Shout out to Maddie. Thank you for your patience. Thank you so much. Shout out to, is it Sanji? Thank you for subscribing. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Lay. Shout out to Baylor. Shout out to Camille. Shout out to Jimena. Shout out to Sammy Yaga. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Aaliyah. Shout out to Callie. Shout out to Claire. Shout out to Yasmin. Shout out to Ruby. Shout out to... It's okay, Piggy. Shout out to Piggy. I understand. Shout out to Sierra. Shout out to Gemma. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Thank you so much for being here. Shout out to Missy. Shout out to Alexa. Shout out to James. Shout out to Sierra. Shout out to Sharon. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Gray. Shout out to Cora. Shout out to Finn. Shout out to Darlene. Shout out to Lana. Piggy, that sounds really nice. I'm sure you're excited for that. Shout out to Kanaya. I know, that sounds like so much fun. Shout out to Joy. Shout out to, oh, that's so cool. Shout out to Eileen. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Layla. Shout out to Charlotte. Shout out to Monica. Shout out to oh my goodness. I'm so sorry. Shout out to Prabs. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. I'm so sorry that I write slow. Shout out to Celeste. I know some of you have been writing your name forever and I feel so bad. Shout out to Mario. But thank you so much for your patience. Shout out to, is it Mio? Or what's your name? Martyland? Can you write your name? Shout out to Ariana. Shout out to Zuhab. Shout out to Emily. Shout out to Blair. Shout out to Royce. Shout out to Ashika. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Aranza. Shout out to Emma, happy birthday. Shout out to Clay. Shout out to Carla. Shout out to Rainfall. Shout out to Rosie. Shout out to Star. Shout out to Zoe. Shout out to Haley. Shout out to Millie. Shout out to Socks. Shout out to these people. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Please subscribe if you enjoy these shout outs. I also post other content. I hope you can check it out. On to the next page. Shout out to Ariel. Shout out to Alicia, or Alicia, sorry. Shout out to Stella. Shout out to April. Shout out to Elisa. Shout out to Arsalan. Shout out to Hanvi. Shout out to Gabriel. Shout out to Sarah. Shout out to Denise. Shout out to Jose. Shout out to Prince. Shout out to Sham. Shout out to Noah. Shout out to Palak. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Sadie. Shout out to Maylise. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Coben. Shout out to Athena. Shout out to Amira. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Ariel. Shout out to Evie. Shout out to Kaden. Shout out to Rosie. Shout out to Avery. Shout out to these people. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Jordan. Shout out to Sienna. Thank you for subscribing. Ariel, I got you. Shout out to Clay. Shout out to Kirat. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Kenzie. Shout out to Isaiah. Shout out to Afra. Shout out to Jake. Shout out to Lacey. Shout out to Rosie. Shout out to Scarlett. Shout out to Rianne. Shout out to Aimir. Shout out to Divya. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Athena. Shout out to Eve. Shout out to Nestor. Shout out to Maya. Shout out to Araya. Shout out to Torianne. Shout out to Levi. Shout out to Mom. Shout out to Leanna. Shout out to Leah. Shout out to Ariana. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Leia. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Zoe. Shout out to Bryce. Shout out to Sarah Sabrina. Shout out to Eliana. Shout out to Naima. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Royce. Shout out to Leanna, I got you. Shout out to Zoe. Shout out to Zainab. Shout out to Breeze. Shout out to Canary Islands. Shout out to Remy. Shout out to Royce. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate it. Shout out to Tyson. Shout out to Kentucky. Shout out to Canary Islands, I got you. Shout out to Faryal. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Dylan. Shout out to Samantha. Shout out to Arshad. Shout out to Maria, happy birthday. Shout out to Royce, I got you. Shout out to Gillen. Shout out to Muhammad. Shout out to Carrie. Shout out to Liz. Shout out to Lydia. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Thank you so much for being here. Shout out to Kiki. Shout out to Abby. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Cora. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Lisa. Sorry. Shout out to Lisa. Shout out to Axel. Shout out to Anjali. Shout out to Ankit. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Ruby. Shout out to Cheekies. Shout out to Lilac. Shout out to Surya. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Yahira. Thank you for supporting. Yahira. Shout out to Nafil. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Gabby. Shout out to Hazel. Shout out to Kaden. Shout out to Ruby. Shout out to, is it Lily? Shout out to Seema. Shout out to Royce. Shout out to Nodia. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Tashmir. Shout out to Zoe. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Naya. Shout out to Aubrey. Shout out to these people. Like and subscribe if you're enjoying the shout outs. Thank you so much for being here. On to the next page. Shout out to Kenzie. Shout out to Mio. Or Mayo. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Bella. Shout out to Serenity. Shout out to McKenna. Shout out to Abby. Shout out to Aubrey. Shout out to Jana or Janae. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Aisha. Shout out to Emma. Shout out to Addie. Shout out to Emmy. Shout out to Violet Lopez. Shout out to Lana, Serene, Ragad. Shout out to Benrose. Shout out to Charlotte. Shout out to Madeline. Shout out to Isaac. Shout out to Martin. Shout out to Royce. Shout out to Noor. Shout out to Jalen. Shout out to Enos. Shout out to Empress. Shout out to Sophia. Shout out to, is it 90? Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Laura. Shout out to Chloe Wyatt. Shout out to Mila. Shout out to Valerie. Shout out to Amelia. Shout out to Sophia. Shout out to Berlin. Shout out to Eleanor. Shout out to Serenity. Shout out to Kamari. Shout out to Rosie. Shout out to Daniel. Shout out to Lil. Shout out to Nina. Shout out to Shayna. Shout out to Jeremy. Shout out to Enos. Shout out to Royce. Shout out to Hannah. I put Nina. It's right here. Shout out to Addie. Shout out to Amber. Shout out to Cookie. Shout out to Amira. Shout out to Anastasia. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Liberty. Shout out to Jesus. Shout out to Kylie. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Athena. Shout out to Anna Phoenix. Shout out to Annabelle. Shout out to Ada. Shout out to Love. Thank you, Leonardo, you too. Thank you so much. Shout out to Shar. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you, Amanda. Shout out to Amanda. Shout out to Amelia. Shout out to Hunter. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Thank you so much for being here. Shout out to Ashley. Shout out to Enrique. Shout out to, is it Roos? Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Maple. Shout out to Lila. Shout out to, is it your fellow artist? Can you write your name again? Sorry. Shout out to Fisher. Shout out to Justin. Shout out to Avian. Shout out to Angie. Dragon Wing, what name would you like me to put? Shout out to, is it Marthaler? Shout out to Royce Brock. Shout out to Amelia. Thank you for subscribing. Dragon Wing, do I put message? Shout out to message. Shout out to Brochure. Shout out to Talwindar. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Rose. Shout out to Edel. Seth. Shout out to Hanley. Shout out to Eliana. Shout out to Lilu. Lovely Callie Payan. Which name would you like me to put? I did. I put Brochure. There you are. Shout out to Mackenzie. Shout out to Message. Shout out to Mia. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Leah. Shout out to Roy. Luke. Shout out to Ava. Shout out to Madison. Shout out to Mia. Hi Mia. Shout out to Casper. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Elisa or Eliza. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Emma. Shout out to Arvin Boone. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Emma, I got you. Shout out to Fatima. Shout out to Natalia. Write your name in the chat if you want me to shout you out. Emma, I got you. Shout out to Emma. Shout out to Amelia. Shout out to May. Shout out to Miguel. Shout out to Alexia. Shout out to these people. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for taking the time to write your name. I truly appreciate it. I will see you all next time. Take care. Bye.